I was studying recently about what Pastor Apostle Babalola did. We are his children. I'm sure some of them will hate God.
As a child of Apostle Ayodele Babalola, what are the things you have experienced in your life that you can say, thank God my father served God?
On my own, if I am sick or I'm in need of anything, when I pray, my prayer is answered.
Àwọn èèyàn bá dẹ̀ rí mi báyìí kán ní ọmọ bàbá Babalola, bàbá tí Ọlọ́run lò toríṣiríṣi iṣẹ́ ìyanu ṣẹlẹ̀ pé kò lè rìn mọ́, pé ó wà lórí ìjókòó. What would people say? And I started praying, Ọlọ́run ní gbogbo ọ̀nà ṣàánú fún mi, have mercy on me, have mercy on me. Ọlọ́run ṣàánú fún mi. That was how I started working.
Our attention has been drawn to a particular statement by one of the preachers that said that Apostle Ayodele Babalola carried anointing and he had no money, he was poor. And the fact that he was poor must have made his children to hate God. We will not have joined issues on this matter. Why? Because we want to believe that that statement was not made maliciously. Probably it was not a malicious statement. It was just said out of zeal of making a point. But for the sake of a generation that will hear such message and will not be able to know the difference, it becomes necessary for us to make some things very clear.
Èmi máa rọ́wọ́ iṣẹ́ rẹ̀, Ọlọ́run 1930, lẹ́sẹ̀kẹsẹ̀ ni wọ́n ṣe ìyanu. Èmi táyé mi tọ́lọ́run ò jẹ́ kó ó yẹ jó fún bàbá.
Number one, I have the responsibility as one of those who have documented histories of our fathers, our heroes, and preserving the legacy of our faith. Number two, as one of those who has the responsibility to ensure that the next generation get it right.
I was studying recently about what Pastor Apostle Babalola did. I stand to be corrected, but what God did through Smith Wigglesworth, if they had documented what God did in the life of that man, I'm telling you, people will be coming for pilgrimage. He was anointed. Oh, I described to our church members some of the things I heard. So anointed. He was praying one day, and a python crossed his leg and dried up. He didn't even need to say, I bind, it dried up, just crossing his leg. What are you talking about? Anointed man, heavy duty grace. But no money. So all the grace just went like that. Where are his children? Where are his children? I'm sure some of them will hate God.
There are three things to be addressed in that short session that relates to Apostle Ayodele Babalola and then one other minister that was not mentioned. The first one was the fact that when people have anointing and they don't have money, then it means that they would have lived a wasted life. Number two is the actual idea of poverty in itself. Number three is the fact that their children will rise up to actually hate God. So let's start with the first one. Let's make it very clear that Apostle Ayodele Babalola was never poor. Yes, he chose to live a simple life, a life of sacrifice. To allude to that, to make that clear, for example, while we are doing the documentary on Apostle Ayodele Babalola, doing our research on him, we discovered that at a given point in time, he had several people living in his house at FLI. Sometimes as many as 40, 50 people were living in his house. I don't think a poor man would be able to afford that because they feed them at least 2 meals in a day. And that's that. A poor man won't be able to do that.
That we didn't see people coming in and out, that will be an odd thing. And it will be
So the norm is for people to be around.
Yes, it's a common thing.
Now on the average,
the
like
house
how many
is
people
always filled up.
on the average, like how many people are in the house per time?
I can't say this is the figure, because even when Baba is not around, people will come and wait for him.
Wow.
So the house was always filled up.
And then when they come, how do they feed?
They are fed by us.
Wow.
Most of the time,
So that would be a lot of pressure on Mama.
definitely.
Oh, that will even lead me to ask
Most
this.
of the time, she was busy preparing food for this group has come, this pastor has come, they must all eat.
2, the man had several children across the environment that he was sending to school, paying their school fees, buying their uniform, paying for their textbooks, and all of that.
The kit car he was using, Baba was using a kit car, because when he's traveling, the Baba and the driver will be in the front. The next space is for materials, clothing materials, school uniform and Ankara, dresses for the less privileged.
Wow.
Towards the time that Baba died was the time that he was exploring Otripo. So he was always parking close along that side if at the back of his own seat, and the last space of the kit car was where the disciples used to sit.
Wow.
Because when he travels, at least 2 of them will travel with him. That is at least, if not 4.
There are 3. There were ministers that were under his leadership, under his watch. They call them Omowuli, and many of them were being taken care of by him. And so, by all standard, we cannot say that Apostle Ayodele Babalola was poor. Maybe he actually lived a life that was more sacrificial, and his attention was not drawn on having the things to himself. We had the privilege of also looking at his diary. God provided for Apostle in miraculous way. If there is one man who knew the provision of God, Apostle Ayodele Babalola knew the provision of God, because at every point in time when there was need, there was provision.
Baba was a good record keeper.
Wow.
But Baba was how will I describe him? If I say generous giver, it's even beyond that. Because if you are a generous giver, you may be minding yourself a little bit. You think of at least
You consider some other
everything from his pocket. And if there is any problem that I know of between him and Mama, it may be that one. Because Mama will ask, now that you give out everything in your pocket, what of our own in the house? What of our own in the house?
What will be his response?
Oluwa pese. God will provide, and God will provide.
Wow. So Mama must really be understanding in that, in all of this.
There was nothing she could do.
Wow. Now, how rich was Baba? As a Jew,
Rich?
yes. You should have like 10, 15 houses.
Well, Baba was very, very rich in the Lord, because I didn't see him lack in anything. He had everything, because he was a man of satisfaction. As the head, he doesn't hunger for anything. But when you want to talk of material things, count Baba out.
Also, Apostle did a lot of projects. There were many churches. In fact, he was one of those who did a lot of church planting. And many of those church planting, he personally contributed to their building. So he really didn't have put his money to building personal things. He was consumed by the kingdom project. And I think that is the reason why it is presumed that he was poor. He was never poor. He actually lived for the kingdom. He lived for the church. He gave almost everything he had to the cause of the gospel. Now, either he should have done that or he shouldn't have done that. It's another debate. But what we are trying to first debunk here is that Apostle Ayodele Babalola was never poor. He had enough to serve the cause that God had sent him. And that will lead us to also deal with the issue of poverty in itself. What's the understanding of poverty? The reality is that I like to quote from First Timothy chapter 6. First Timothy chapter 6, verse 2, from verse 5. And Paul said, these people always cause trouble. I'm using NLT. He said, these people always cause trouble. Their minds are corrupt, and they have turned their backs on the truth. To them, a show of godliness is just a way to become wealthy. Yet true godliness with contentment is itself great wealth. So we need to make this very clear that having material things in surplus is not necessarily equal to being close to God. In Book of Revelations, Jesus talked about the particular church. He said, you think you are well, the Laodicean church. He said, you think you are rich. He said, yet you are poor. Yet he looked at another church that was seen to be poor. He said, you are defending the faith. I think we should make our attention focus on the main. Is there in any way to denigrate or pull down the aspect of the gospel that teaches prosperity? No. Prosperity is part of the gospel, but it must be put within the proper context. It is not necessarily the acquisition of wealth. If a man is not designed or destined to have a private jet, that doesn't mean he's poor. His needs are met. If going by the standard of that video that we watched that was circulating, and Jesus would be said to be poor because Jesus didn't have any amassed resources, yet he fulfilled all that he needed to fulfill. One could have even said that Jesus didn't have money to even buy a tomb for himself. Somebody had to give him a tomb. But you see, when you look at the life of Jesus, while there may not be accumulation of resources, whatever is needed per time was provided. Jesus fed 5,000 people, not because he had a store of money, but at every time that there was a need, what was available was breathed upon by God to create the results. So we also have to look at context of generation. Apostle Babalola lived in a generation within a time that colonial masters were heavily in charge of a lot of things. And for that man to have succeeded with his mission, moving from place to place, bringing the gospel, I don't think it will be fair on his legacy to have said he was poor. Now let's deal with the third thing, which is about his children. That his children hated the Lord. Again, I've personally done interview with the last born lady, as Madam Adini, and I've related with her in the last 2 decades. And like you will see in the video, she's been to our meetings to pray for young people. She's burning, she's on fire in the Lord. When I was sent to the city of Elisha, she was the one that received me to the city. She gave me the first house that I lived. I lived in a duplex that was built by herself and her husband. They are happily married and doing well. Mama is 70 something, close to her 80. Her husband is 82 by now. Mama is close to her 80 and she's still fervent in the Lord. Every time I go to Mama, sometimes when we start to pray, we don't know when we are going to end. Mama comes yearly in the last 4 years to come and pray for young people at Asians Well Revival Retreat. Every year she was there. She was still there this August, some few weeks ago, to pray for the young people. And I'm sure some of the young people who were there at that event saw how fervent, how on fire this woman is. Last year when she was there, 2 years ago when she was with us, she was praying with Pa Amiko and Nusuka. She was praying for Bishop Taiwa Delacon. She was praying with Pastor Louis Johnson. And I think those men know a little enough to have known if she had lost the faith or not. But obviously the woman that they saw is not the one who has lost the faith. When Mommy Funke Adejumo came around, that great matriarch went to see her and she prayed with her. And she also knew that this woman was carrying some substance. So I think it's not very correct to say that our children probably hate the Lord. I'm sure maybe because Pastor didn't have enough information. So we are putting this out to help people who probably will listen to him. Now, aside from Mama Akpeke, she has an elder sister, Mrs. Ogini. Mrs. Ogini is also on fire for the Lord. Mama Akpeke serves in the Methodist Church and she's one of the pillars in Methodist Church Nigeria, Elisha Diocese. She's one of the strong pillars there. Mama Ogini is one of the strong pillars for their CSC church in Okesha, in Elisha. She's serving fervently there, very committed to the Lord and doing brilliantly well. And her children, she has children that are doing very well. Both of them have children that are doing very well. One of the children of Mama Mama Ogini. Why I don't like to get into people's private life, but I think it was necessary to bring this out. One of the sons, I won't mention name, has a building in the city of Elisha. I mean, that building can be anything less than maybe 100, 150, 200 million in building. They built it, they stopped, restructure it, and all of that. And everybody saw it, and it's a sign of the eye. And I mean, a poor man won't be doing that. So that confirms the scriptures that says said, once I was young, now I would have never seen the righteous forsaken nor his seed beg for bread, which means that God is ever faithful. Now, are there pastors or ministers who their children could actually grow up eating the Lord? Yes, it's very possible. But the reason will not be because they are poor. The reason will not be because of God. Many times the reason is that some of those children probably were not indoctrinated, they were not properly taught the basics of the faith. So they don't know what they receive. And when people don't know what they receive, they move away from what they receive. And it's not only those dead metals, including people who are rich. There are many pastors who are rich whose children are off. And what made the children off is even the money. So you find out that it's really not either they are rich or it appears they don't have material things. It's more of the fact that were they really, really grounded in the faith? Do they know whom they have believed? Do they know whom they have received? It's one thing for a child to be following the parent to church and do the religious activities. Another thing for the child to have met the Lord that the parent met. And that's the same gospel we have preached, that the salvation of the father does not transfer to children. It is the responsibility of father and mother to ensure that their children also know the Lord. Some people will say, okay, a man of God will miracle happen through him outside, but his house. Now, as a child of Apostle Ayodele Babalola, what are the things you have experienced in your life that you can say, thank God my father served God?
What a question. Hey, Pastor Shegun.
Because people want to know.
From where do I start?
Anywhere.
No. It's just too many. If I go to a place and I need an obligation, and somebody who is familiar sees my face, we ask, ǹjẹ́ yín kọ́ ni Aunty Àpèkẹ́? Because I resemble Baba. He or she can ask, ǹjẹ́ yín kọ́ ni Aunty Àpèkẹ́? If I said yes, that whatever I've gone there to do is that thing is done. At times, attending any service or any occasion, if anyone recognizes me there, they will dip their hand into their pocket and say, please, Egbama.
Wow.
And even on my own, if I am sick or I'm in need of anything, when I pray, my prayer is answered.
Wow. So I believe that assertion of that pastor, I really don't want to mention it because somebody that I love and respect, but this is necessary to ensure that we do not have have a problem in the handing over our faith to the next generation. Prosperity is part of the gospel. People need to believe God to be able to supply. God still supply abundantly above all we can ever ask or imagine. I am a testimony of that. I got to the city that I am in with barely nothing, and God has been faithful at our own level, has provided and have more than enough. But the reality is that we must never present a gospel that gives an impression that material things is equal to being faithful. Your relationship with God is strong. No, they are not. It's not like that. Prosperity is part of the gospel. It is the concept of the fact that God meets our needs when we put our trust in Him, and we must never put that as the foundation so that we don't destroy the coming generation. We must not even put it at the face of people to make them feel that money will make them to deny God or thereabout. I mean, I think it puts a strain on our gospel. Many of the missionaries that came to Africa, they died. They used their whole life Do we say they were failures? No, no, no. The scripture is full of martyrs, people who die for the sake of the gospel. Paul said, we are poor, yet we are making many rich. Apostle Paul never had material acquisition, yet we reference him so much. Why? Because there's so much grace upon his life. He's the one that taught us that he's learned to abound and to abase, in all situations. We learned that the gospel we have received did not tell us that godliness is equal to gain. No, 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 no. Godliness with contentment is great gain. Whatever it is, we focus on God and we are contented with whatever He's doing in our life, believing Him for greater things. While we are upholding Him, either He gives us, He does not give us, we say upholding. We know Him, we believe, we hold to Him tightly. Every young person listening to me, I want to encourage you to know that our God is ever the same, yesterday, today, and forevermore. The labor of our heroes past, like Apostle Babalola, shall never be in vain. They were men who did their own part sacrificially, labored. Their eyes were not on the materials, their eyes were on the master, and that should be our emulation. I hope this helps somebody. Thank you.